Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone here? This is an important day for Montgomery County, and the County Council is pleased to be joined by the County Executive in this regard. We're talking about our resolution on hate crimes and harassment. And I'm going to repeat some of the remarks I made this morning. As a number of people have written and stated, the events of this past week have brought out many demons in our society. Many of us had thought they'd been laid to rest. We passed a resolution today to reaffirm our opposition to bigotry, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, sexist behavior, and xenophobia. We will not tolerate or condone those behaviors. In the wake of some of the troubling incidents of vandalism and inflammatory speech that have occurred in Montgomery County, each of us felt very strongly that we wanted to stand together to reaffirm this county's tradition of respect for all residents. That's why we have approved the resolution entitled Reaffirming Community Safety and Trust and Denouncing Anti-Immigration Activity, Racial Bias and Discrimination, Hate Speech, Hate Crimes, and Harassment in Montgomery County. We've taken action on this resolution now because as we have the opportunity to more fully address the community's concerns and our commitment to a diverse community. We are united in saying we are a diverse community and that we believe in dignity and in the importance of all members of our community. We're united in rejecting discrimination and disenfranchisement in all its forms. And we condemn hate speech, hate crimes, and harassment. In Montgomery County, we have a long history of valuing our diverse community, and we will always, always, always stand up for the rights, freedoms, and safety of our residents. No matter who you are, where you or your family came from, who you love, or how you worship, I want you to know that you are welcome here. Now I'm going to take a minute to read our resolution, and then I'll turn it over to the county executive. Montgomery County's strength is its diversity. People from every corner of the globe come to our county seeking peace, stability, and a better quality of life for their families, and their contributions greatly enrich our community. Montgomery County has the largest population of foreign-born residents in the state of Maryland, with nearly 1/3 of our residents coming from other countries. More than 70% of our students in Montgomery County Public Schools are Hispanic, Latino, African American, Asian American, or multiracial. This county council affirms the dignity of all county residents and recognizes the importance of their contributions to social, religious, cultural, and economic life. County officials and employees and our entire community have worked diligently to build trust among people of all races, ethnicities, and religions. And we've done that for many years. These efforts make our county a thriving, welcoming community. Montgomery County has a long tradition of protecting all individual freedoms, and we will continue to protect and defend our people and our progress. All of our residents should be free to go about their daily life without fear of hate speech, hate crimes, harassment, or deportation. The Council strongly opposes any federal action that may undermine the trust created in our community and threaten public safety. The Council is committed to ensuring that activity at the federal level will not impact our democratic values or the progress we've made in our community to protect individual freedoms. Federal authorities must proceed with great caution and respect for the values of our country, our county, and the requirements of the Constitution. Our action was as follows. The County Council for Montgomery County, Maryland approves the following resolution. Montgomery County will continue to be a citadel of justice and provide unlimited opportunities for people from all walks of life. The county will continue to be an inclusive and pluralistic community where all people are treated with respect. Montgomery County believes that no deportation should take place without ensuring that the person to be deported received adequate representation and due process of law under the Constitution. The Montgomery County Police Department will play no role in enforcing federal immigration law. County residents should never be afraid to seek help from our public safety officers. The council rejects bigotry, misogyny, homophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and xenophobia in any form. The council denounces hate speech, hate crimes, and harassment, and condemns the recent hate crimes that have occurred in our county. The council calls on the county's MC311 system to provide operators and staff with special instructions to assist anyone on how to report and deal with hate crimes and harassment, including information about legal resources and support services. When appropriate, MC311 operators should also transfer calls to the Montgomery County Police Department's non-emergency number and provide information about the Office of Human Rights. That's our resolution, and let me turn to the county executive. Mr. Leggett.
I started formally in Montgomery County many years ago as the chair of the county's Human Rights Commission. And over the last 35 or 40 years or so, I have seen tremendous progress in Montgomery County. I've seen a community literally welcome people from all over the world. And so when I became county executive, one of my objectives was to extend that outreach. That is, to make Montgomery County literally the most welcoming place on this earth. We did so with the belief that we had leaders in the county and residents from around the world who wanted us to demonstrate and to be a model for the rest of the world, to treat all people with dignity and respect. I've had a very hopeful view about the progress that we've made. But recently, I can say, sadly, that I think that we have taken a step back. Not a step that I would think is a permanent step, but indeed a very decisive and a step back. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to see people in fear. Last night, myself and a number of the members of the county council held a town hall meeting in Silver Spring. They talked literally about other issues. But one of the most passionate speakers was a person who got up and talked about her experiences, her fear, and what she felt for her children. She was in tears, and she really talked about that in a passionate way that all of America should hear, the challenges that she faces and the uncertainty that lies ahead. We reassured her about what we were going to do today, and what our county stands for, that we are not engaged in deporting people, engaged in ensuring that our local law enforcers are going to carry out the role of ISIS. But she still felt fear, and she expressed that in a number of ways. What I hope that we recognize today, that Montgomery County is not like many other parts of this country. But we have seen, and we continue to see, acts of intimidation and threats against our residents. And that is not something we will tolerate. This gathering today, this news conference, is designed to send a message out to all of our residents and to all the people who will join us in fighting hatred and bigotry. This coming Sunday, working with our faith community at our Veterans Plaza at 2:30, we are inviting under the county's auspices a larger meeting, a larger gathering with all of those so that our entire community can come out and express what this resolution is saying today. Now, make no mistake about it. There is fear, and there is a need for our community to act. This resolution provides us with a point of reaffirming the commitment of all of Montgomery County. But let me remind you of something that the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, that you cannot legislate hate. You cannot legislate hate, but we can act on those who in fact are hating people. You cannot legislate the heart, but you can act against the heartless of acts that they have portrayed against our residents. And what we are trying to say today is that we will act in legislative fashion, but we're asking the community to come together with us so that we can deal with those who have expressed views that are not acceptable to Montgomery County. That's where we start, but it's not where we're going to end, because I want to end with the promise that I made to our residents, that this will be the most welcome community in all of America. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Many people wanted to join us today and speak. I'd like to recognize Ken Reichert from Senator Ben Cardin's office, who's here with us today, Kevin Mack from Congressman John Delaney's office, who's here with us today, John McCarthy, and we have a statement from Congressman and U.S. Senator-elect Chris Van Hollen that I'd like to read. Mr. Van Hollen's statement on unity. America is a nation that values decency and respect, but those ideals have been challenged in recent days by a spate of racist, anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, misogynistic, and anti-LGBT incidents in Maryland and across the country. The consequences of the hateful rhetoric dominating our politics are deeply disturbing, and I stand with those expressing outrage and solidarity with the communities affected. We cannot allow ourselves to be torn apart by these expressions of hate. A divided nation cannot live up to our most basic responsibility to protect our society's most vulnerable. Divided, we hand these stoking fear for political gain the ugly power they seek. We must stand firmly together to overcome our many pressing challenges, and we must call out hate wherever we see it. Words of condemnation by those stoking fear are not enough, especially when they're contradicted by actions. Donald Trump's selection of Steve Bannon as his top advisor is abhorrent, and I call for his job offer to be rescinded. We cannot forget that America's story is rooted in the fight for equality, and we must continue to march forward together to an ever more perfect union. Thank you, Congressman Chris Van Hollen. Because we've had not too much time to prepare for this, we're not able to get all our elected representatives here, but I'd like to recognize Senator Susan Lee, who's been able to join us. And now let me turn to my colleagues, Council Vice President Roger Berliner, and then we can go down the line starting with Councilmember Katz.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, County Executive, for your really lovely words. What was consciously unleashed in the presidential campaign is now coming home to roost. It was a campaign that succeeded by dividing us, by creating fear of the other. And so many of us are feeling the pain of that and the fear it has unleashed among our extraordinarily diverse community. A third of our community has immigrated from other nations, and we are better for it. What I know in my heart is that pitting one against another must stop. There is no them. There is only us. Our nation's politics is broken in part because we don't respect one another enough, don't understand one another enough, don't listen to one another enough, don't see or experience our common humanity enough. We focus instead on the differences. At last night's 22nd Annual Anti-Defamation League's concert against hate, Alana Simmons, the granddaughter of Reverend Daniel Simmons, gunned down in his church in Charleston, said that her response to hate is to bring more love to the world, and urged each of us to show love to 3 strangers and watch it spread. This madness must stop. we can hold true to our principles and to our values and not lose our capacity to reason together, to see our common humanity, and to respect and value our diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President and County Executive and everyone that's here today. Before I begin, I did want to point out that Joan Kleiman from Senator-elect Van Hollen's office is here as well. You know, in Montgomery County, we're all descendants of immigrants, and I am the grandchild of an immigrant. My grandparents came to Montgomery County about 100 years ago, and they came for the very reason that everyone that comes to Montgomery County today came for. They were looking for a better life for themselves. They were looking for the hope that their children and their grandchildren, of which I am one, would have that good life as well. My family was able to prosper because of Montgomery County. And we're going back close to 100 years ago, but for the very same reasons that people are here today. We have great education, we have great opportunity for jobs and to better, each of us can better ourselves in those occupations. And what we've all learned is that when we work together, when we stand together, our strength is together. And for that, I am very, very honored to be here today. I am very honored to be a part of this resolution. And I say to each of us, when we will continue to do with the good works that we're doing together. Thank you very much.
I'm County Councilmember George Leventhal. I want to thank Council President Florine and County Executive Leggett for their leadership on these issues. All of us in elected office and all of us who are active in the community have been very busy these last several days trying to keep track of and respond to acts of hate in our community, especially sadly directed at houses of worship, which ought to be places of peace. We've all heard and we know that the antidote to hate is love. We're trying to show that love here today and in our presence in the community. And we also know that the antidote to fear is courage. And we're trying to demonstrate that courage and demonstrate solidarity for our neighbors who are frightened today. Mr. Leggett mentioned the testimony we heard last night from a mother who is undocumented, who is afraid that she'll be separated from her children. There are many of our neighbors who are experiencing that fear now, and there isn't much that we can tell them insofar as the intentions of the incoming federal administration. But what we can tell them is that Montgomery County will not play any role in the enforcement of federal immigration law, that our community can continue to feel safe sending children to our school system, that federal law, in fact, protects against personal student information from being provided, even to federal agencies, that our police's role is to protect and serve local residents, not to serve federal agencies. And we are going to continue to send the message that Montgomery County, as our county executive has said so many times, is a place where everyone is welcome and safe. We know that many of our residents are not feeling safe. And as elected officials, we are feeling the pressure and feeling the concern. But we are going to continue to respond to fear with courage and solidarity.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Nancy and Ike, for putting this together. I've been to the scenes of 2 hate crimes in 1 week within a few miles of each other in Silver Spring. There were calls for racial violence at a Silver Spring school yesterday. My own message yesterday of support for the marching Blair High School students was met with calls for violence and racial invective. And it hasn't even been a full week since we had the results of the election. Apparently, some people think that they are authorized now to say things and do things that they would have thought twice about doing just a few weeks ago. They should still think twice. I've asked Chief Manger to investigate these crimes in my district vigorously, and we have the state's attorney's office here who we know will prosecute hate crimes vigorously as well. I know all of us on the Public Safety Committee and all my colleagues agree on this point. We also need residents to call in unreported crimes and tips, no matter how small, so the police have all the information possible about every incident. A leader of the vandalized Episcopal Church on Sunday told me he had to stop 2 large white men in Value Village across from the church from harassing an elderly Latina just a couple days before that. Chief Manger thought that was valuable information for the investigation, but that had not been called in. We all see things, we all hear things. We need to call them in and be part of the solution. Many in my district are nervous, some are terrified. As Ike mentioned, we met with traumatized victims of the fire and explosion in Silver Spring, people who lost relatives in the fire. We met with them just last night, and now they feel like they're facing separation from their children. They need support from all of us in the public at large and the government. They don't need more trauma imposed by a few hateful neighbors. Silver Spring has a long history as a welcoming community. We believe in the motto at the Statue of Liberty. We've long welcomed the masses who are yearning to breathe free, whether they were coming from El Salvador, or Ethiopia, or Nicaragua, or Vietnam, or Ireland. Immigrants are still welcome in Silver Spring. Refugees are still welcome in Silver Spring. You know what's not welcome? Xenophobia, racism, violence are not welcome, not last month and not now. We need all our residents, not just the county council and the executive, to send that message to our whole community loud and clear. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Navarro, and I'm council member for District 4. I'm an immigrant. I am the first immigrant who's ever served on the Montgomery County Council. I am married to a man who's also an immigrant. He's from Haiti. Our daughters are Afro-Latinas. And I share this with you because there is a very specific experience for some of us who every time we walk out of our homes, we cannot just leave that identity behind. This is who we are. And we came to Montgomery County, and my husband and I specifically chose Montgomery County 25 years ago as our home because we knew that this was a place that valued that diversity. My first foray into public service was 23 years ago as a volunteer for the Montgomery County Committee on Hate Violence. And we always strive as immigrants to do whatever we can to contribute to this amazing place that we now call home. That's what called me to public service. And so today I'm here very saddened, and to be honest with you, having a tough time finding words, because every day we are constantly challenged to make ourselves visible, to make ourselves valued, to make ourselves appreciated, to address all these disparities that for some reason disproportionately continue to affect our communities of color and our immigrant communities. And so it's hard work. But then you have a situation like we just endured this week, and we're wondering what happens next. And it really makes you weary and even more tired, because now we have to start almost from scratch. So I'm here to say that as a representative of all the residents of District 4 and this entire county, as I also had the privilege of serving on the Board of Education where I represented all the residents, we will double down on our commitment. We will fight whatever we need to fight. We will do everything possible to make sure that this county stays true to its values, its commitment, what makes this an extraordinary place. And so to everybody out there who feels a little bit misunderstood, I'm here to say that we see you, we recognize you, and we will continue to represent you with a lot of pride. Thank you so much.
I guess as the old guy in the council, I gotta say, I remember growing up with the George Wallace campaign. And I thought that was the high mark of racism in America. And it seemed when that election was over that was in recession and that we were moving to a different place. And I've seen programs, you know, the work we do in our schools, the work we do in the county government, the work that the private sector has done to encourage diversity and welcoming among people. And it's just hard to believe amidst all that this is where we've landed. And it's a real tragedy. And it's a bigger tragedy because, in truth, it's a minority of American voters, we shouldn't forget that, who seem to be emboldened by the form of victory they achieved to bring all this stuff back out in the open. And it's going to be hard, but you know, you're in Montgomery County. We are always going to be Montgomery County. We're not going to change. And I've talked to the police chief, and he's made it clear that he's not going to change, that we're going to do what Montgomery County needs to do, and we're not going to become a different kind of place because Washington has become a different kind of place. And I just hope that we all work together and we stand together. And I would have advice for the President-elect and Mr. Gingrich that if they want to start a House Un-American Activities Committee, I can't think of anything more un-American than the kind of hatred that these people have unleashed. So if you want to start investigating, investigate the engine of hate that they've set loose. That would be a good starting point. But for the rest of us, we're with you. We'll stand together and we'll work together, and this national nightmare will come to an end at some point. Thank you.
Thank you to my colleagues in the county executive for bringing us together today. This is a very tough time. I know a lot of people feel, and I find it hard to escape that feeling, like this is the beginning of the end. That may sound apocalyptic, and I think we all feel apocalyptic, but we are not going to let that happen. And we are here today, I think, to recognize the strength that we have together, when we stand together, when we speak out together, and we are going to overcome this. So many of our residents are scared right now, and they are afraid that they will be targeted for exclusion and isolation, for disrespect, for crime, for deportation. I want you to know that if that is how you feel right now, Montgomery County government is going to be on your side, and we will do everything in our power to protect you. We are here today to send a message to our immigrant community that they should feel safe contacting the county government. We won't ask about your immigration status, and we will not enforce federal immigration law. That goes for the police, it goes for the housing department, the fire department, it goes for the rest of county government. You may be scared, but do not give up your voice. Instead, be louder. Do not be intimidated, be strong, and fight for your rights. Montgomery County is one of the most interesting, inclusive, and diverse communities in America. Our diversity is what makes this county a great place to live, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure that we stay that way. Thank you.
So what you've heard this afternoon from all of my colleagues, I want you to take away for all of my Latino and Hispanics, for all of my African Americans, for my Asians, for my LGBTQ, for all of my Muslim communities, for everyone in Montgomery County. You are safe here. This is your home. This is our home. We will not let people defy who we are and what our values are. I want you to stand up and make sure that you tell everyone who we are as a county. We are one who values everyone's voice, who lifts everyone up, who believes in the validity of everyone and their success. And just because there are a few naysayers out there who want to try and divide or minimize people based on some of the characteristics that they have is not okay. We will continue to fight to make sure that each and every moment we are representing us as an inclusive and diverse community. You know, it's interesting. My mother and father came from the rural South, and they came to Montgomery County, very similar to what you heard from the story from Councilmember Katz, to escape some of the racial persecution that was going on. They felt as though Montgomery County was the best place to establish a family. The reality is that I now, with two young girls, have to have a conversation with my girls about what it means to have people saying, kill blacks. To have a conversation with my daughters about what it means to have people saying, whites only. To have a conversation about what it means, they don't even know what a swastika is. We were blessed with a community that didn't have these things at the forefront, but they were there. What we need to do is make sure that we stamp them out with vigilance, just like we've done to fight for the equality and rights of everyone. That's what this resolution stands for. That's what we need to do to continue to move Montgomery County forward. And together with all of your help and with my partners here on the council, we can do just that. Thank you.
All 10 of us up here have run for office. We've campaigned hard. We've exercised governance. And one thing that we've learned is that words matter in leadership. That's what's been so disappointing about this election. But these are our words. These are our commitment.